Hi guys, we have a really exciting interview today. We're speaking to illustrator Inky Mole. She's been professionally illustrating for 20 years. She has her own brand, super talented, and she's one of our best-selling Contrado artists, so we're really excited to talk to her. Hi Sarah, how are you doing?
Hi Katie, I'm good, thanks.
Before we get into anything, what sort of mediums are you selling on? So you have a Contrado store. Is there anything else that you sell your products on?
Yeah, I've had a busy shop with Big Cartel, maybe, I don't know, 13, 14 years now. Obviously completely different because I make the products and list them in the shop, and Contrado obviously has the advantage of not having to invest in stock and making them to order. So it's two different shops with two completely different remits.
Let's hear a little bit about just your art style, your background, how you got into illustrating. Just what is Inky Mole? How would you describe it?
It's derived from a nickname I had at school. I'm really short-sighted, so I used to get called Cole Mole. My name's Coleman, so it was Cole Mole. And then the ink part came later because I would always have ink and paint on my hands or was using them. So the Inky Mole thing was kind of a nickname. And when I bought my first domain back in, I don't know, 97, somewhere around there, when the Sarah Coleman domains that were available had already been taken and there was no permutation I could have. So I thought, okay, well, Inky Mole will do for now. I can always change it later. And then 27 years later, it's still there.
What's your art style like? How would you describe your designs?
Quite conversational. There's a lot of words in my work, and by that I mean everything from literally doing a lot of type and lettering work to the less literal meaning of that, which is I tend to get inspired by other people's words. So hence I work a lot with books. I work a lot with editorial, illustrating concepts that can be difficult to illustrate any other way. I've worked with poets and rappers and writers, and words are kind of at the core of everything that I've done, whether they literally appear within an image or are the image is a response to the words.
I'm interested to hear how your work has translated onto products. Is pattern design or pattern making something that you did from the beginning? Is it something that you kind of explored later in your career? How did you find that?
It's quite an interesting question, really, because pattern design is something I've always enjoyed looking at and engaging with, but never really attempted myself. It's quite a skill. It's harder than it looks, I think. When I started doing the masks last year, they were a combination of initially creating pieces specifically to fit that product, and then later on learning that a lot of the work I've got in the archive, which is, you can imagine, is quite big by this time. A lot of the pieces that existed already in the portfolio were perfectly suited for that little compact canvas.
When you started your career, did you ever plan on selling your prints, selling your art? How did that initially translate into selling products? What was that journey like for you?
Ultimately, all illustration is selling art. You're selling an image for a purpose, or more specifically, you're technically licensing an image rather than selling it. And I'm going to sound old. When printing t-shirts was quite difficult and expensive to do, because you had to find a screen printer, you had to buy your own stock, and make sure you had enough of each size and colour of t-shirt, and everything was screen printed. So I guess selling things was always there. It was always part of the broad range of things that we wanted to do under the term illustration.
Yeah, I actually was interested in hearing that. Like, transitioning from doing everything yourself and having physical stock and creating it yourself and everything, going from that to a completely digital platform where you're selling, products on a storefront. How did you notice your brand change?
I didn't notice the brand change because what you do is you use the tools that are available to you, like Contrado and Big Cartel and wherever, to reinforce the brand that you have. What it was brilliant for is reaching audiences that I wouldn't have been able to reach before.
Yeah, I guess that's a real benefit of selling on any sort of online marketplace is that, it attracts customers from literally all over the world. So when your stuff is out there, anybody really can find it. Would you say, I guess, does Inky Mole generally, and yourself as kind of a business owner, do you have any sort of ethos, any sort of moral compass that you follow? Is there anything that you would say that your brand stands for?
Yeah, I think we do. I think we've had it for a long time. I think some of those things would be, again, it's a much overused word now, but we've always striven for authenticity. We don't talk about things that we're not. We don't pretend to be producing anything that we aren't. We don't make promises. I think the authentic tone of voice is really, really important, especially now in a very noisy, crowded sort of the pub room, the noisy pub of social media.
And so that sort of compass is what guides which sort of companies and stuff that you would work with.
Absolutely, yes. I think one of the things that was very strong about Contrado is things were made in the UK. And this was at a time where it was getting quite hard to find things that are made in the UK, that are actually made in the UK, not just drop shipped here or sort of made somewhere else and then sent to the UK and then sent to me. This stuff was made right here in London, and that was a real big plus for me. It's really, really important.
I'm interested to hear what you found specifically unique about Contrado that kind of attracted you to using our platform, because obviously you've had success on Big Cartel. You have quite an established business at this point. So what was it about Contrado that attracted you?
So I liked the idea that if absolutely necessary, I could get in the car, drive for an hour and a half and actually be there where the stuff is made, even see it and talk to people. Mm-hmm. The other thing that clinched the deal was good old-fashioned customer service. I remember reaching out to Contrado and I was absolutely full of questions, as you might imagine. How does this work? How does that work? How do I do this? The guy that helped me out was incredibly patient, answered all my questions. And we did it by phone as well, which was lovely. And I was so impressed by his level of service that I thought, this is the one I want to go with.
What kind of advice would you give to a Contrado artist that is just starting out, no experience selling online? Maybe they've done art for a while, but what kind of advice would you give somebody?
Decide on, I'm going to say 5 products that you feel excited about designing, that you think you can sell, that you have an audience in mind for, and then design for those products. Be prepared to order samples of your own products. I think you have to go through the purchasing process the first time to understand how it feels for a customer. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's really important to get your hands on the products, to check that it's printing right, you've set it up right, you like the fabric, just so that you can talk with absolute confidence about that product. I think the other bit of advice I would give as well is not to expect that you can upload the products and sit back and wait for the money to roll in. The shop will only ever be as successful as you sort of push it.
So actually, you've alluded to this a little bit, but I'm interested to hear how your business changed and was impacted by the pandemic. How did things go? I know you sold a lot of face masks, obviously, but going across from your Contrado store to your Big Cartel store and everything else in between, getting clients and that sort of stuff, how did things change for you during the pandemic?
Interestingly, it didn't feel initially like anything was affected. When I realised there was going to be a need for everyone to wear a face mask, and I decided, after having made some for the family initially, I was just going to make them for the family, and then my partner suggested, you really ought to make these available to everyone. So initially I was a little uneasy with that because I was concerned about maybe looking like I was somehow capitalising on a need that everybody had. Everybody would want to have a mask, everyone would need a mask, and was I somehow capitalising on that? So we had that discussion. decided that was just being silly and worrying unnecessarily. Put the range of masks out there, and you know the rest. It went crazy, absolutely crazy. We were selling so many masks that we decided to donate all of the profits from those masks. So we were able to, well, some really handsome donations to organisations that we felt were quite important to help at that time, and that continued through the year.
It seems like obviously coronavirus had such an impact on so many small businesses, but actually you were able to take your success and have an impact on coronavirus. You know, when we speak about like a brand ethos or a brand sort of moral compass, I think that's exactly what that is. You know, like the fact that you chose not to profit off of this need for face masks, but instead actually end up donating all of that money is seriously impressive. I mean, really amazing. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sitting down with us and just giving us insight into all of your wisdom. This has been such a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. I'll see you soon, Katie.
See you soon.